What's up, party people? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamila. This is JemilaBeReadin, and today it's a wrap up where I talk about the books that I read this month, the TV shows and movies that I watched, music, podcasts, various happenings of media and entertainment this month. The month of September started off really strong, I feel like. Started school, but I was feeling like I was handling everything. I was reading a lot of good books. And then it really tapered off towards the end. But anyways, the first book that I read this month was The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This story I tried to explain already in my September TBR, which I will link above if you want to see me fail at explaining what this story is about. But basically, it follows our main character, Kara, who is a traverser. In this world, there are multiple universes. There's this big science company that sends traversers to the different known universes to keep tabs on them, I guess. But essentially, to be a traverser, you need to have been dead on the universe that you're trying to travel to. So a lot of the times the traversers are people of color, people living in poverty, because it's more likely that they're gonna die in other worlds. So those are usually who the traversers are, and Kara is only alive on 8 of the known universes, and there are 380 or something known universes, so she's dead in a lot of universes, so she can travel to a lot of different places. So one of her selves in the universe where she's still alive dies under mysterious circumstances, so she has to figure that out. There's like a big thing going on with the science company. It's a sapphic romance also, which was great. I freaking love Kara and Del. Anyway, this is such a mess, and I knew it was going to be a mess. I gave this 5 stars, and it was amazing. What a way to start my month. It was so good. The writing is so good. Speaking of which, I realized that I returned my library book with all my tabs still in there, so that's kind of awkward. Anyways, the writing was so good. There were so many good one-liners, and now that I'm sad that I didn't write these down and also left my tabs in this library book. Oh my god. Anyways, the writing was so good. There was a really cool exploration of just like poverty and race and class differences and belonging and death and all of this great stuff. And I really liked Kara as a character. She is such a gray character, and I really liked that, and I really liked her exploring that. I will say too, it's really cool because there are a handful of characters, right? But they show up multiple times on different universes, and they're all slightly different. So it's just really cool because, one character might traditionally be really bad in a lot of the universes, but there's one where they've completely gone on a different path, and it looks at like what led to that, what things in life allowed them to not go down the path that they usually do. So I just thought that was really cool. I know this is a debut from Micaiah Johnson, so if they write anything else, I will be on there right away. I cannot wait to see more from them. The next book that I read, another 5-star read, was Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. And oh my gosh, I was waiting forever for this book to get in at my library. I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown a couple months ago and immediately put Take a Hint, Danny Brown on hold and had to wait forever. And I finally got my hands on it in September, and ooh, it was so good. So this follows Chloe's younger sister, but not the youngest, the middle sister, Danny. And she's a PhD student, and she also teaches a course at the university where she's getting her PhD. And she gets into a situation. There is like a fire alarm, and she gets stuck on an elevator, and the security guard who she's friends with ends up saving her in kind of a dramatic fashion. People start posting pictures of him carrying her in his arms on social media. It gets trending, all of this stuff. So basically there's like a fake dating element because his name is Zaf. He has like a nonprofit organization that like helps boys with mental health and stuff like that through, I think it's like lacrosse, rugby, whatever, a sport. And so he's starting to get like buzz around his nonprofit. So they fake date so they can like really milk this and all of that stuff. And obviously, you know, they like each other and there's some tension. It's really cute. What can I say about it? One, I really liked Danny and Zaf. I really liked their chemistry. I also really liked that they knew each other and were friends prior to like the romance starting, so that there's like a solid foundation of them already knowing each other. It's not like super instant lovey. I will say it was a little bit rushed, but nowhere near as bad as some of the other romance books that I read. So there's that. I also love that each of them had their own individual like arcs. Danny is working towards presenting at this conference for her PhD, and one of the like panelists is someone that she really is inspired by, so she's really nervous about impressing this person, and so she's working through that, also working through her own baggage in relation to relationships. And Zaf has this nonprofit. He's also dealing with a lot of trauma from his brother and father passing away. And so I liked that they had their own individual arcs, and then the romance kind of just worked in tandem. I think it just enhanced both of their characters. And so, yeah, it was cute. I really enjoyed it. I absolutely can't wait for the third book. I think it's Get an Act? Act Your Age, Eve Brown. I think that's what it's called. I'm excited for that. So the next book that I read in September was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and I already put out like a 20-minute video on The Poppy War where I gave my non-spoiler and mostly spoiler thoughts on the book. I gave this one 4.5 stars. What a great introduction to a series. It follows Rin, who gets into this very prestigious military academy in her country. She comes from poverty. She is darker skinned, and both of those things work against her at this academy. And then a war happens and a lot of things happen. If you want to know more about that, again, I'll link whatever title card to the video where I talked about the Poppy War. But I really enjoyed it. I really liked how there was just, so much discussion about colonization. I like that everything was gray. There was no one who was just like good and bad. There is no good and bad. It's the entire story is a land of gray. Everyone is making bad choices. Some people are making good choices. Some people are making good choices for bad reasons, and some people are making bad choices for good reasons. It's just all wild, and I really liked that. I am so excited for the next book, The Dragon Republic. I actually finally got it from the library yesterday, so I will be reading that in October. Whew, I'm excited. Wow, amazing, phenomenal. So the next book that I read was The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. This is another romance book, a sapphic romance. and I read this for my like mini book club that I have with 3 of my friends. The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics follows Lucy after she watches her ex-lover's sham of a wedding, and she wishes that she was anywhere else. It isn't until she finds a letter from the Countess of Moth looking for someone to translate a groundbreaking French astronomy text that she knows where to go. Showing up at the Countess's home, she hoped to find a challenge, not a woman who takes her breath away. Catherine St. Day looks forward to a quiet widowhood once her late husband's scientific legacy is fulfilled. She expected to hand off the translation and wash her hands of the project. Instead, she's intrigued by the young woman who turns up at her door, begging to be allowed to do the work, and she agrees to let Lucy stay. But as Catherine finds herself longing for Lucy, everything she believes about herself and her life is tested, and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I gave this 3 stars. I think it started off really strong, and then really, like, there's a very distinct part halfway that it just kind of fell off for me. I did like that it explored sexism in science. I did like that it talked briefly about trauma and, like, abusive relationships. But my problem with that is that it didn't go deep. It's like the book brought up a bunch of interesting and important topics, but then dropped them really quickly before any of those could get explored. And to be quite honest, like, Lucy and Catherine were like cute together, but it was so instant lovey, and I couldn't tell you what each of them like about the other. The book very much just tells you about their relationship. They don't show them getting to know each other. The book doesn't really show them like falling in love. It just kind of happens. It does take place over a long period of time, but because the book just tells you that time is passing by, it feels very rushed. And so it just, yeah, I didn't really buy it. Like, there were cute moments between them, but I really just wanted more out of this book. It wasn't like the worst book I read, so 3 stars. I still enjoyed it, but I just wanted more out of it. All right, and then I read another romance book. This one I saw was just like, I think it was like 99 cents on Kindle deals one day, and decided, you know what, I'll just buy it and read it right now because I'm kind of just feel like reading a romp right now. So I read The Tourist Attraction by Sarah Morgenthaler, and wow. This book was not great. So basically, Graham owns this diner in Moose Springs, Alaska, called The Tourist Attraction. And it is a tourist spot, but he hates tourists. He opens and closes as he pleases. He treats the customers as he pleases, but apparently that adds to the charm. And so now everyone knows about this spot, and everyone tries to come and visit this spot whenever they visit Moose Springs, Alaska. So then there's Zoe, who is a poor waitress who manages to save up money to go on her dream trip to Moose Springs, Alaska, because apparently that is where people's dream vacations are. She goes with her friend, whose name I can't recall, who is rich. She stays in this nice resort, and that's one thing, the resort and the town has a lot of tension. And so Zoe bumps into Graham. There's a series of ridiculous and unbelievable gaffes that happened between the two of them. It just was wild. Truly a wild experience to read. And they fall in love, supposedly. I mean, what is this book about is my question. You know, usually there's like at least one thing that like ties them together. It's just that Zoe happens to go on a vacation and runs into him. And really the story is just a series of them bumping into each other and doing touristy things, even though Graham doesn't like tourists and touristy things, but somehow he will do them for Zoe because she's not like other girls, okay? She wears Disney t-shirts and ripped up jeans and reads books and doesn't drink, but then does drink and gets drunk off of one drink and has to take her home. It was ridiculous. It was truly ridiculous. I don't know what the point of this book was. Their relationship didn't make any sense. It's just like Zoe saw Graham and was like, I love him. And Graham's like, oh, I love her. And that's really what it was about. I will say it was entertaining to read because it was so ridiculous. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of tempted to read the next one. But I do give this 2 stars because it truly made no sense. Just was wild, okay? And I don't recommend it. But will I read the next book? Maybe. Okay, so the next 3 books that I read were volumes 24, 25, and 26. I think I also read volume 27, and I think maybe volume 28, even though technically 2 of those are not out yet, but I have Shonen Jump app on my phone. I finally just bit the bullet and paid that $1.99 a month so that I could read and catch up on My Hero Academia. I think I gave each of these volumes 4 stars. I won't talk much about them because they're literally in the middle of the series. I will say a lot of wild things are happening right now, and I am kind of shook. I don't know what's gonna happen, but if y'all read chapter 285 last Sunday, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm stressed. So let's move on. Next book I read this month was A Song of Wraiths in Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown, the only physical copy of a book that I have right now. I've talked about this in my September TBR, I've talked about this in my book haul, so I'll kind of keep it brief. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought this was a fun debut. It was a fun read. I think there was really good conversations around mental health, particularly anxiety, and I really liked Malik. I thought he was a sweet boy. Karina was okay. I'm excited to see more from her though. In the sequel, whenever that may come out. But yeah, 4 stars. It was fun. Yeah. So the final book that I read this month was the first volume of Jujutsu Kaisen, and this is like a kind of horror-ish shonen manga that follows Itadori, I think is what his name is. He joins like this occult magic research organization at his school, and because of something dramatic that happens, he ends up consuming a cursed object, which is like the finger of this super powerful cursed like demon thing, and ends up getting powers from it. And also prior to this, Itadori also had like superhuman strength, which I don't know where that came from. I suppose I should probably read more. But yeah, I gave this first volume 3 stars. It's really hard for me to judge a manga just based on the first volume. It only had 7 chapters in it, so I still am pretty interested in the series, but I wasn't like super captured by the first volume. I think a lot of it was just, it felt kind of rushed. But again, it's hard for me to judge just based on the first volume because a lot of shonen ends up having like this big intense thing that happens at the beginning and sometimes works its way back. It will give you background and flashback, tons of flashback later on as you progress through the story. So it's a different format of storytelling, obviously. So yeah, but I will say that I wasn't super grabbed by this first volume, which is why I gave it 3 stars. I think this definitely will benefit from the anime, at least based on the trailer that I've seen for the anime. It seems like it's really going to capture that atmosphere and that creepy feeling and all of the action a lot better than I think I was getting from the volume. So I think I'm going to pause on reading it for now, and since the anime, I think the first episode just came out yesterday, I think I'm just gonna watch it for now, and if I'm super intrigued by the end of the first season and I want to continue, then I'll probably just pick up the manga again from that point. Alrighty, let's talk about the TV shows that I watched this month. So first up is Space Force, which was truly a shock for me. I was watching something on Netflix and I think it just auto-played right after, and I was just kind of like, well, what else am I doing right now? So I ended up watching it, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was so funny. Basically, it's like about the Space Force, the one that like Trump is trying to create and all of that stuff. But basically, they're trying to colonize the moon and all of that stuff. It stars Steve Carell and John Malkovich, who is, his character is literally the best in the show. He is so freaking funny. But it's a comedy show. There's no like super linear plot, but it's just hilarious. I actually really recommend it. It's on Netflix. I'm hoping there's a second season. It kind of ended on a cliffhanger, so yeah, there's that. The next show that I watched was the second season of Mob Psycho 100. I kind of just like sat down and just watched all 12 episodes in one go. I was honestly surprised by myself there. I haven't like binged watched a show like that in a while. It follows Mob, who's a middle school student that has like super like incredibly powerful psychic abilities, and he works as the assistant to this psychic this psychic firm, I suppose, led by this one character whose name I'm now blanking on, but he doesn't actually have psychic abilities, so he's really just using Mob. I won't talk much about the second season, or really the first one, because the bad guy and like the whole situation doesn't happen like until towards the end of the first season. So, but it's just really funny. It's from the same creator as One Punch Man, and it's so good. I can't wait until the third season. I might actually just read the manga, but you should watch it. Okay, hi. My camera died, so I'm just gonna film the rest on my phone. But I was talking about The Outpost, which is this fantasy series on the CW. I'm watching it mainly because there's this actor who is one of the main characters in it, who was in this movie. Oh, hello, Mike. Who was in this movie series called Mythica. Go and watch that. I highly recommend. It is not the best, but it gets better. And somehow me and my friend Laura are obsessed with this movie series. But anyway, so both of us decided to start watching The Outpost because one of the characters in that is now a main character in this show, and we're fans. So The Outpost follows Talon, who is the last of her kind, the Black Bloods. Her village and her people were wiped out when the Prime Order, who is, I guess you could say, like the military of this world for the Three, which is who rules this world, I suppose. They go and kill all of the Black Bloods except for Talon, because there's a prophecy that is saying that the Black Bloods will cause havoc on the world. I don't know. It's kind of a little bit of a mess. I'm not gonna lie, it's not the best show. Like, it's actually just like not that great. But it gets better. So the first season is kind of The second season gets a little better, and the third season is coming out next week, which is why I was doing this rewatch. I really don't know what to say about this show because I'm hooked now. I need to know what's going to happen. I will continue watching the show. But my God, I don't know who wrote the script. But basically, people from The Outpost, if you're happen to come across this video, please know that me and my friend Laura are here to offer our services to help you with this script. We don't have any experience, but we have a lot of ideas. So, anyways, I also watched Fruits Basket, which the second season ended last week. So, still good. Can't wait for the third season, which I heard is gonna be the final season. As far as movies go, I watched this movie called Love Guaranteed on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, a rom-com that follows a lawyer. And I was like, wow, I am a law student. Maybe this will show me how to find love. It was not good. It starred Rachel Leigh Cook, who I know from Psych. She plays Abigail. And one of the Waynes, Damon Wayans Jr., I think. Anyway, it was not good. And I am planning on making a video about this at some point, I think. Like a review. Because it was absolutely ridiculous and I have so many thoughts on it. So keep an eye out for that. I also rewatched Les Mis for the first time in like 7 years. That was fun. And as far as music goes, WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, an anthem. Hit Different. SZA, she's coming back with the music. I cannot wait for an album if that's coming out soon. And yeah, as far as podcasts go, I'm just watching the same old podcasts. That is all I have for you folks. Sorry for this weirdly disjointed, like half camera, half phone camera video, and all of my wild description of these books. It's like I didn't even read them, and I have no idea what any of them are about. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment down below telling me what book you're most excited to read in October. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all of that jazz. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.